photographing the way I do, but with my colors, this will change everything.
I got to see each frame, each position of its wing, and they're so beautiful that I have never seen before.
Being able to move quickly and working at my brain's pace and getting those shots in the moment. Having this camera allows you to go out and create the way you want to create.
Until you use it, you cannot even imagine what you have missed.
It's something I've never seen before in my entire life. It's something totally different.
Nikon Z6 III. Outperform.
Introducing ISO Color Edge. Precision is essential for any professional working with images. Whether you're an artist, a retoucher, or a visual effects specialist, you need to know that what you see at the start of a project is precisely what you'll get at the end. Color Edge monitors give consistent, reliable accuracy that guarantee no surprises within your color workflow. So what you see in real life is what you see on screen, and what you see on screen is what you see in real life. That's precisely why professionals all over the world trust ISO Color Edge for their image creation. ISO Color Edge. Discover living, breathing color.
Welcome to the judging of the 9th category of the 2025 Australian Photographic Prize, the commercial category. Wherever you're tuning in from around the globe, we're so glad to have you with us as we spotlight the very finest in photography. I'm 2025 Competition Director Daniel Bingham, and along with Director of Judging Chris Anderson and Nathan Bingham and others, we're bringing this to you today in a hope that it's going to show some amazing photography and give you a chance to enjoy some of that. So before we start, in Australia, we have a tradition where we like to, we open events like this with a welcome to country as a way of bringing people together. And I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which this event is hosted today, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and sincere apologies for that pronunciation. We pay respects to their elders past, present, and emerging, and extend that respect to any First Nations peoples joining us today. We'd like to thank our sponsors for their contributions to this prize. A huge thanks to our major sponsor, Nikon Australia. We really couldn't do this without Nikon. They are awarding our major prize winner $5,000 worth of Nikon equipment. And a special shout out to Julie, Kylie, and the entire Nikon team for your continued support. Also, thank you to our wonderful division sponsors. We have AZO, who are supporting the creative division with a monitor valued at over $2,500. We have KL and Godox, who are sponsoring our classic division, and Ilford, who are sponsoring our single capture division. Also, thank you to the Photography Studies College, and who are offering a $1,500 scholarship to our high school photographer of the year, and their print shop, who are giving us giving away a print consultation and 2 A1 prints valued at $500 to the student photographer of the year. So please take a moment, visit their websites, tag them in your posts, show them some love, and let them know that their support is truly valued to the photographic community. So what's going to happen today? Well, first of all, we're going to have a run through of all the images. We'll do that very shortly. After that, each image will be assessed by our live panel with expert commentary, insights, and the occasional challenge. Scores will be displayed on screen as we go. And once all the images have been judged, our panel will deliberate offline to determine the top 3 place getters. Our first, second, and third place winners will be revealed at our Live Presentations Award next Sunday on the 20th of July. So feel free, please join us for that celebration. But first, let's take a moment and run through all the images we're going to see this category. Two. Wow, there's some pretty amazing images there. We're in for a treat this afternoon. I now have the honor of introducing our wonderful Director of Judging and panel mentor, Chris Anderson. As well as being a national and internationally recognized judge, Chris was recently awarded the 2025 Asia Pacific Photography Awards overall grand champion. Over to you, Chris.
Thanks, Daniel. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the commercial category. I hope you've all been watching all the judging that's been going on because it's just been spectacular. We've been getting so many good comments on the community pages and things like that. But we're here today for the commercial category. So commercial category, images suitable for, pardon me, just one second, images suitable for commercial clients in the promotion of a product or company, including advertising, fashion, still life, food, and corporate photography. Commissioned and non-commissioned entries are permitted. And these are in the AZO Creative division, which means we have access to the full range of post-production tools other than using AI and stuff like that. If you want to read all those rules, you can head to the website. Now we have, as always, we have a stellar panel of judges with just so much experience ready to help everyone out today. So I'm going to start with Bruce Moyle. Bruce is from Launceston. He's as a photographer, he does all this amazing work spanning fine art, commercial, theater-based portraiture. And I find his work really compelling and really human. He's actually going to be judging and speaking and running workshops at the New Zealand Photo Show in what feels like just a couple of weeks from now. So welcome, Bruce, to the panel. Also running stuff at the New Zealand Photo Show is Craig Turner Bullock, who's been a pet photographer since 2001. He's based in Christchurch. He's a Grand Master of Photography with the NZIPP. He's the co-founder of Unleashed Education, a fabulous education platform for pet photographers. He's also an author of Dogs of the World, which is a wonderful book. So Craig, it's excellent to have you on the panel today. Kat Ferguson. Kat comes from Melbourne. She's a photographer. She's got more than 17 years in the industry, and she's a journalist as well, which means her background spans image making and storytelling, and she's always really looking for the story in an image. She was awarded the Claude McCarthy Award for service to the Australian photography industry after volunteering for the AIPP for more than a decade. She's an Imogen ambassador and a content creator for PicTime and the creator of Photo Geek, a blog to help photographers everywhere. So welcome, Kat. It's great to have you here. Kay Davis, another Kiwi. Kay does the most amazing images, kind of layering analog and digital techniques to create she balances expression and technical restraint to create amazing landscapes. She is a Grand Master of Photography in New Zealand as well. She's an honorary fellow of the New Zealand Photography NZIPP. She's won the NZ Professional Photographer of the Year. Just a really long list of accolades. So, Kay, it's fantastic to have you here joining us as well. Matthew Vasilescu. And, Tony's always really happy when he pronounces your name right. I think it's a piece of cake, Matt. So, good to go. Matthew is a Sydney-based commercial photographer. He's got decades of experience working in this industry. He brings science and instinct to every image. So he has previously won the highest scoring print at the AIPP APA Awards, which is a really excellent honor. And we're really super excited to have you back on the panel this year, Matthew. Nuran Zorlu is amazing photographer. He's been doing this for a really long time. He's a travel author, a storyteller. He's a commercial photographer. He has a generous heart and a compelling voice. I've been on the receiving end of his judging, and it feels wonderful to have Nuran observe your image and look around and talk about it. So and I can't wait for others to get that experience today. So welcome, Nuran. And I'm going to finish up with Peter Barnes. Peter's in Adelaide, and I got his state right on the screen this time, which is fabulous. He's a commercial photographer, and he specializes in architectural and industrial photography. And his work is full of clarity and technical strength, documenting the built environment with precision and purpose. And he's been finalist in a ton of prizes, including the Bonus Prize, the Emma Hack Art Prize, the Adelaide Parklands Art Prize, the Nyland Prize. So welcome, Peter. If you haven't worked it out, this is such an amazing panel of photographers who are ready to bring their wisdom and observe your images, comment on them, and judge them. So I hope you get a lot of value out of this today. We're going to start with 5 judges on our panel today. So Bruce, Craig, Kat, Kay, and Matthew, you're going to get started. We've got 7 judges. 5 of them are going to be on the panel at any one time. And I'll keep kind of moving through them pretty quickly so that everyone gets a lot of time. And let's start with our first image, please. There's a context statement in many of our images in the commercial category, which I'm going to read out. Our judges can also see it on their screen. Barami is a local watch designer. This is his Mojito design, and the desire was to accent the colors with a vivid, brilliant sunshine feeling. And we have an 83, a silver award with everyone sitting in that silver range, which is great. Can I get a comment from you, please, Kay?
Yeah, beautiful image, and I love the sense of movement in the background and the staticness of the watch. It gives that sense of motion and energy to the whole image. For me, I would have liked to have maybe have the watch lit a little bit stronger, because I feel the background is just pulling it a little bit away from me, from the attention of what the subject is all about.
Brilliant advice. Thank you, Kay. Let's go on to our next image, please. This one has a context statement. Humanizing the offshore industry, paying homage to the people who help bring energy to Australia through black and white photography. Craig, can you get that score in? Brilliant. We've got a 78. Highly commended. Bruce, you were really close to the average there. Do you have any feedback?
Yeah. Interesting idea of capturing people within the space, but unfortunately we need either the subject to be a bit more visible, or we need to see the space context a bit more. At the moment, the only thing we're getting is the overalls and the helmet. So work on this. Just find that story and give us a little bit more context within the image so you're not having to rely so much on your statement.
Fantastic, Bruce. That's great. Let's have our next image, please. And we have a 77, highly commended. And I might get a comment from Kay Davis, please.
Yeah, quite a striking image. The black and red is really strong and makes it a really strong image. I think for me, there's a little bit more sharpness on the hands than what there is on the face. So I think just be careful of where that focus is in the image.
Brilliant. Thank you, Kay. I'm going to keep judges moving on and off the panel pretty quick. So, Kay, thanks for that comment. Now you get a break for that. And Nuran, we're going to bring you on to judge, please. So let's have our next image, please. Context statement for this one. The Triumph Thruxton Final Edition is the Cafe Racers Icon's last hurrah, a beautifully crafted motorcycle that blends stunning aesthetics with peak performance. And we have, again, very even scoring across the board, 77, highly commended. Matthew, I might come to you for a comment on this one, please.
Sure. Look, it's a fabulous capture of a moving subject, which are inherently very difficult to do, especially panning. The focus again has probably just fallen in slightly the wrong place. It sits up the leather jacket and on the ribs of the rider rather than on the brand name. And if we're looking commercially, the brand name is what it's all about and who we are advertising and capturing for.
Brilliant. Thanks, Matthew. Craig, I'm going to give you a little short break and let's bring Peter Barnes on, please. And we'll have our next image. It's a context statement for this one. Dare, Devil's Delight hair dye. Branding is dare to be different with a focus on bold, unique imagery to align with the brand's aesthetic. And we have 78, highly commended. Again, pretty consistent scoring right across the board. Kat, I'd love some feedback from you, please, on this one.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. This is a really nice concept, fairly well executed. Look, what's kept it down for me is the hotspot, the really bright area on the logo there, and maybe perhaps a stronger expression in the model's face might really help emphasize, the storytelling here. But overall, yeah, nicely done, and yeah, worthy of a highly commended.
Excellent. Thanks, Kat. Bruce, you can have a little break for a second and we'll bring Kay back onto the panel. Next image, please. Sometimes when our judges are speaking, you'll notice that they're looking off to the side. We encourage our judges to use calibrated monitors. And so they may have a big monitor off to the side to look at images and while they're using Zoom on their main machine. And we have 75, highly commended. Matthew, I'm going to come to you again on this one. I suspect
Sure.
you're going to have some great feedback for the photographer.
Yeah, look, automotive and cars are inherently very difficult to capture bright, shiny subjects and curved surfaces and things. I can really see where the photographer is going with this to slice the car up, and they're close to it, but it's probably the dominance of that archway behind and that bright light that's coming in that's not giving us enough shape of this lovely Ferrari, which I think is an F50 Ferrari, highly expensive machine. It's just not quite there compositionally.
Excellent. And Kat, you've got a little bit of extra to add as well?
Yeah, just a quick comment on just when you're bringing down your highlights, just be really careful. Like the whites in those windows have just turned into a muddy greyness, so just be a little bit careful when you're dealing with that.
Excellent. Thanks, Kat. That's really great feedback. Matthew, we're going to give you a little break, and Craig, let's bring you back on, and we'll have our next image, please. This has a context statement. As part of a personal project, I photographed extraordinary cognac products in a luxurious manner. This particular bottle is one of my favorites. Congratulations to the photographer. We have an 80, a silver award. So excellent team. Let's get some feedback. I might go to Peter Barnes. Got some feedback for the photographer, please.
Well, I've only got praise. A lovely image, well put together. I like how the brand is up front, very easy to read. We can see how the bottle has been designed, and the whole thing is complemented by the background of the image. I'm a little bit anxious about how it's perched on the edge there, and that brings to the image a slightly uncomfortable feeling. So perhaps think about where you might position it next time you do something like this.
Thanks, Peter. I can see some nods on Zoom from the other judges there as well. So that sounds like that was something lots of people observed. Let's see. Because I want to keep you moving. Kat, we're going to take you off the panel, and Bruce, you're back on. Next image, please. This has a context statement. Lights, camera, action. After almost 5 years in the making, roller coaster opening night is here. One last stretch, and it's our time to shine. And we have a 79, highly commended. So, Bruce, I might come to you for a comment on this one, please.
Sure. Thanks, Chris. These sort of things are great to photograph. They're always inspirational, especially when you see kids and performing arts. And the catch is that they're also really tricky to shoot when you've got so much. Well, it's controlled and uncontrolled light in this respect. It's theatre lighting. So something you need to be aware of is the limitation of your camera, and the clipping of the people through the image of their highlights and that are actually detrimental to the actual image contrast. So look at how you can use your sensor within your camera to actually emphasize the dynamic range. It's tricky. It's something you've got to learn your tools really well. And with practice, you'll end up with something that's even more compelling. But as an image as itself and as a record of what these people went through, awesome work. Well done.
Fantastic, Bruce. Thanks. Bruce has got plenty of performance experience, so this is definitely speaking in an area that he's familiar with. Let's have our next image, please. All right. Well, we have an initial score of 82, but I suspect we may not stay there for very long. Nuran would like to challenge. Nuran is more than 5 points away from the announced score on 88. Take it away, Nuran.
Beautifully captured and very nicely placed image, and all the graphical elements working very, very nice. But most of all, it's like showing the expensive product actually, which what it is. Like it's putting a gold looking actually container in there and shows the expensive of the caviar, which is all about it. If it's the caviar is a bigger part of the image, I would have go higher. But this is definitely needs a little bit more than the silver award, and I'd like to join me in the silver distinction judges.
Thanks, Duran. Peter, I'd love to hear from you next, please.
I was probably underscored this, looking at it some more, but it's a very well made image, and I thought it's definitely worthy of a high commendation. I'll keep listening, and I may come up to silver.
Okay, brilliant. We've got a few judges that are keen to talk on this one. Bruce.
Thanks for the challenge. I think the thing that got me with this is that I think it's technically well executed. Like everything looks good. My thing was the composition of it. The thing right in the top right the corner is such a distraction from the rest of it. I feel like that could be lost, and I really want to emphasize like that logo, the actual product itself, and that I think really for me to elevate it would have been just to crop that like top third out and just really focus on the product. It's the only reason I didn't go higher. I was in the silver range, but I am listening.
Thanks, Bruce. Kay, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, I'm wondering whether that element in the background is an incense burner or something like that that is supposedly creating that sense of smoke, the smoke that's coming through. But I do feel there's too much gap in the middle. It could have been brought closer to the main elements to prevent that gap in the middle, and also maybe just cropped ever so slightly off the bottom so that we didn't see that additional texture. But a beautiful image, beautiful textures and tones throughout.
All right, excellent. Well, Craig, everyone else had a chat. Have you got any feedback you wanted to add?
Yeah, just really quickly, I scored at 84. I'm pretty comfortable there because of that gold thing in the top. But I do really think that the purpose of this image has been well thought out with that black space to allow for text overlays or pack shots or something like that in a commercial space. So I really like that negative space. I really don't like that top third with the gold. So I'm at 84 and I'm fairly comfortable there, I think, really.
Brilliant. Thanks, Craig. Lots of reactions on the panel when you said that. So, Nuran, let's come back to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's correct. You still, it's a couple of my lines, but still I forgive you. But it's like we said that technically is a beautiful image, and we already put in the silver, but all the elements you said that actually for commercial purpose, all using that negative space for just the text itself is actually, it's a very, very good accomplishment for image like this. Any graphic designer will like to work with images like this, let alone, and it's enough for making a successful commercial image itself. And just a few more points, and silver with distinction will be greatly appreciated.
Thanks, Nuran. I'm sure that you forgive him. That's lovely. If we could, Nuran, you're going to keep your score locked where it is, and other judges, please rescore. And we've moved up a couple of points, 84 silver award. Like we say something with awards, every point counts, and it really does. So that's a really important change. All right, let's have a little judge change. So Bruce, we'll give you a break. And Matthew, let's bring you back on. Next image, please. Daniel, can we have our next image, please? We might have a little technical difficulty, everyone. So there we go. Brilliant. Big props to Daniel and Nathan working in the background today. You heard from Daniel before. They're the engine room keeping this thing running and doing an amazing job. All right. Well, we have an 86 silver with distinction. I'm pretty sure we're not going to stay there.
Challenge.
Kay Davis is going to challenge. Kay's on 92. Take it away.
Wow, this is incredible. I haven't seen anything like this, and I think I'm the choice of color palette in that spaghetti. Maybe it is black spaghetti. It might be the octopus ink spaghetti or something like that. Is beautiful. The actual subtle lighting that's been used. There's no harshness to it. It all just merges and blends together through tone and the texture of the spaghetti, the highlights and those little braids down there. It's just beautiful. The basil, creating those little bows at the bottom, just phenomenal. Yeah, I think this is exceptional. I'd love to hear what other judges have to say.
Fantastic. Thanks, Kay. Matthew, let's come to you next, please.
So the thing that you mentioned in there, Kay, the highlights, when I'm zooming in and looking at this at 100%, it's mostly all that I'm seeing is all of those highlights in those spaghettis and around the plate, and particularly on the right-hand side of the plate. They just feel like they're dominating too much in the image and not allowing the rest of the tones to come through. And those subtle grays and the blacks that are in there, but those highlights are just too bright when you're looking at those edges.
All right, thanks, Matthew. Craig, can I come to you next, please?
Yeah, Kay, I was right there with you until I had a closer look. And as Matthew mentioned, the highlights are a little bit problematic for me, but also the background of the image has been darkened down. And if you look, especially on the spaghetti bow plait on the right next to the plate, the masking has not been completely done in those little gaps. So the lightness of the shadows is very different to the lightness outside. And then I was wondering about with the leaves, there's like the haloing around those. And I thought maybe it was a reflection at first, but then it's not really looking like a reflective surface. So I was a little bit let down with the closer inspection, but I really appreciate this for its being different and being quite a creative take on this kind of imagery. But yeah, those technicals just let it down a bit.
Thanks, Craig. Kay, back to you.
Yeah, the lighting on the spaghetti is what gives it its texture. If it was too soft, it wouldn't give I guess that sense of feeling of crunch like you get on a spaghetti that is the al dente. I forgive the little bit of lighting on the bowl. Again, it gives dimension to it. It might be a little bit strong, which is probably why I haven't gone into the gold distinction range, along with the comments that Craig has made around the haloing or shadowing of the basil leaves on the plait. The concept itself is just something I haven't seen before. And so I'm also awarding that. But I find the lighting, that the highlights on all this, that is what gives it its shape and form. I'd encourage you to come up a little bit. Oh, is it on 86? Even a few more points if you can't make gold.
Brilliant. Thank you, Kay. You're going to keep your score locked in at 92. All other judges can rescore, please. And we've moved up 1 point, 87, even more solid silver with distinction. And I'm certain the photographer would have appreciated all that discussion. That was really good. Before we go to our next image, let's have a little change. Kay, we'll give you a break, and Bruce, you're going to come back on. Let's go to our next image, please. This one has a context statement. This image is all about the luscious luxury of Italian maraschino cherry. I wanted to create something very minimal. Do we have a strange issue? We only have 4 judges on. Sorry, everyone. Can I get a blank screen, please? And actually, we might just take a little technical break because it looks like the system is allowing us to score with fewer judges than we have. So we have a 79, which is a highly commended. Are we all happy with that?
No.
Matthew's not happy with that. Would you?
No.
I think he's going to challenge. So
Yes.
take it away, Matthew.
Look, talking about fit for purpose in a commercial category, this is a very fit for purpose image. It's beautifully crafted. The textures in the white and those white tones, the separation as we go from that nice texture in the background to potentially the plate, and then the lovely delicate sauce, caramel or whatever that's around the cherry, the beautiful shape that the cherry is making, leading down into it. It does have some very peaky highlights in the top of it, but at the same time, the cherry is beautifully, treated. There is probably some.
I'm going to go to compaction. I need to.
There is probably a few things underneath the cherry in those shadows that are a little muddy, a little bit maybe noisy and grey in there. But when we're talking about commercial image and something that, again, a designer and or restaurant would love to utilize this image and sell a lot of cherries from it.
Excellent. Thanks, Matthew. We have a few judges that are keen to speak on this. Nuran, you were one of the first to put your hand up.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I love this image. I love the color and I love the treatment and everything you say, Matthew, is just spot on. But one thing is a commercial category, like as a commercial thing. I don't want to buy this cherry yet, like a cherry, like the rim of the plate is, I think, is a concave shape. It's give that just like a circle around the cherry. I think for my thinking is this cherry needs to be pulled up a bit more. I mean, slightly higher, then we can see the cherry. The color of the cherry is disappeared. The sauce is beautiful, and like elements and all that runs are great. That's why I think is actually like a highly commended image. But for going in the silver range, that actually it has to be a bit more effect. And this is a commercial category. And we want to sell this cherry. Cherry has to be center of this image. But at this moment, I'm looking everywhere but cherry in this image. But I'm happy to listen. But beautiful image. But I like to hear what else we're going to say.
Excellent. Thanks, Duran. Bruce, can we hear from you next, please?
Sure. I think the thing for me is that I didn't recognize it as a cherry to start with, and that to me is a bit of maybe a failure on my part because I don't eat cherries very often. But that to me, it didn't read cherry-like initially, particularly the body of the fruit. The stem definitely gives it that flavor, that look, but that was the thing that held me back. I think it could be refined more, and that's the reason why I was in the highly commended, because you got those double highlights happening in the top of the sauce. The cherry isn't as cherry-like in its shape, maybe because it's sitting so flat to the camera. I think all the little details like that would, like, it's like lighting wise for the most part is done really well and everything, but it's just, yeah, for a commercial category, you can go in and do post-production, just refine and tweak those little edges and stuff like that to give it that pop that gives us that message that we're looking for. And unfortunately, I didn't see it as well in this as I was expecting.
Okay, thanks, Bruce. Let's come back to you, Matthew.
Yes, look, I can understand that people might not look at it and see it as a cherry initially and read it as that, though our statement said that we are talking about the cherry. This cherry is also glazed, so we're not going to see the actual cherry. The cherry is glazed underneath it. There is a glazing over the top, which is why it's hidden from our eye in part, which is why it doesn't resemble as a beautiful, round, perfectly shaped cherry. The cherry is buried underneath of that. But I'm looking at the entire image for a restaurateur and someone who is selling high-end food to a higher-end client. Yes, I can understand, and I do think the same things as you, Bruce. The top of that caramel or the top of that sauce could be refined. The left-hand side of that cherry could be refined a little bit more as well. But I'm seeing this on a menu with beautiful name on that top left and some lovely elements in there that sells this cherry to people who will go and spend $20, $30, $50 on this, eating this cherry dessert. So it's definitely at least in a silver award if we can come up to that level for me.
Right. Thank you, Matthew. So Matthew, you'll keep your score where it is. Everyone else, please rescore. And our score is held at 79, highly commended. Now, if you're good at mathematics, you can see the average is 80. We have a rule called the majority rule. So with 3 judges in the 75 to 79 range, the score stays in 79, highly commended. All right, let's do a little quick judge change. Let's see, Matthew will give you a break for a second to bring Kat back on, and then we'll have our next image, please. This has a context statement. Humanizing the offshore industry, paying homage to the people who help bring energy to Australia through black and white photography. All right, and we have a 77 highly commended. Are we going to stay there? Kat's
I'd like to challenge, please.
Fantastic, Kat. Take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. I'm really pleased to talk about this image. I think it has immediate impact. The choice of the point of view was a very smart choice, very powerful. I'm really enjoying the black and white treatment on this image. It's got this sort of gritty dirtiness about it. It's got a nice range going on and a lovely sense of, shape and graphic design. We've got some really rigid, tough, solid structures in there. And then I'm loving this sort of dance and curve and twist of the power cord there running over the top. So, yeah, look, I'm really appreciating this image. I do think it's worthy of a silver, strong and creative image with clear strengths in concept, technique or impact. So please, let's talk about it. And yeah, I'm definitely asking my fellow judges to come up to a silver, please.
Brilliant. Thanks, Kat. Craig, can we hear from you next, please?
I thought you'd be coming to me next. So I put this in at 74. I just feel this is a bit of a missed moment here. The intersection of that mask on the helmet there, or the headgear, with the curve of the metal, just causes so much tension in that center of the image. And then the blur on the left-hand side and the bit of rust on the metal at the bottom and that black thing coming up. We're in the commercial category here. We've got a full range of post-production techniques. I think some of that could have been removed and dealt with. I do enjoy the grit and the dirt and the cables and everything on the floor. I think that's great. But I think that middle is where everything is, and all that stuff around it is not useful negative space because it's got too much difference in tones to have a use commercially for text overlays and that kind of thing. I think the photographer really should concentrate our attention a bit more with the crop on this image for me to have taken this up into an award level.
Thanks, Craig. Bruce, you were right in the middle, and I saw you doing some air cropping just now. Do you have any feedback?
I love my air cropping. I agree that it needs a bit of a crop. I mainly think the left-hand side is the thing that distracts me. You can have things centered to the left or right of frame. It doesn't always have to be centered. In this instance, I feel like that bit of information on the left, that out of focus in the foreground, is not really helping. I think the other thing, going with Craig, I think the missed opportunity is more about the lighting, because it's using a welder or something there, and generally the sparks that come off that sort of tool is the brightest thing in the scene. So if you're actually metering or trying to capture that and getting maybe a different frame in there where you got a bit more of a spray, I think it will read really dramatically. I don't know if you've got other ones in the sequence, but that's the sort of thing I would look for in as well, because you could darken the image down a little bit, still give the context of the floor and everything, and just make it really pop. But I really like the storytelling in this. I think there's something here, and I really love the sort of the sideways J of that pipe. I think that's really graphic and interesting. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Brilliant. Thanks, Bruce. Kat, right over black.
Yeah, thanks, gentlemen. It's always great to hear everyone's opinion. Look, Craig, yeah, I see what you're saying, having the potential to remove things from this image to clean it up. But I think the point of this image is that it does have all these bits and bobs and obscurities and dirty, rusty metal things in the way. And this is the working environment. I think it would feel false to sort of clean it up and pretty it up. That's really not the intention. And in terms of commercial usage, I think I would see this more as an image, in their annual report, something like that. It may not necessarily be that particular image that has the branding all over it. This image is showing the work environment, this obstruction on the left and the tightness being in so close into that pipe. Again, I think it's sort of highlighting to us the difficulties of working in these spaces, that you are working around and in and tightly and doing your job in this environment that has all these obstructions. But that is the point, and that is sort of the beauty of this image and this environment. So I think it was a really smart choice to have it in black and white. Yes, Bruce, I can appreciate that a more dramatic spark flare would be great, and that would have pushed me up into silver with distinction. I'm not asking for that. I'm simply asking for silver, and I really do think this is a worthy image, so please reconsider.
Thanks, Kat. Kat, you're going to leave your score at 82. Everyone else, you may rescore, please. And we've moved a couple of points. 79, highly commended. It's a really good conversation. And as with all of these, I know the photographer is going to really appreciate this. Craig, we're going to let you have a little break and let's do a Kiwi swap. So, Kay, you can come on, please. And let's have our next image, please. It says a context statement. Dare hair dye, the Devil's Delights color range. Dare to be different. We have a 79, highly commended, very even scoring across the range. I might come to Bruce for a comment, please.
Great use of a pack shot to bring the reds into, and like, you know, that devil's delight, like we always associate red with the devil. I think the thing it got me, and the thing I would look at, and it's a really tricky thing to do in this space, is be really careful about how you're saturating your reds. Red obviously is a primary color to your sensor, and if you push it, it'll clip and your saturation will become problematic in post-production. So, and that's where a lot of your noise is coming from, as far as I can tell. So be really mindful about how you shoot it and the way you treat it in post, because when you're working with primary colors, especially on your sensor, it can really be that thing that separates you from the boys from the men, or whatever the phrase is. Like it's a really, but as I say, great concept. Well done.
Thank you, Bruce. Peter Barnes, did you want to add something there?
Just quickly, the pedant in me is enjoying the fact that this product is centered in the middle of the frame, but it's the pedant's not enjoying the fact that the top of the product is not horizontal. It could be easily fixed in post-production, and I think would add to the strength of what is a delightful image. I think I love how the background works, how it's lit, and I love how the brand is front and center and bold.
Excellent feedback. Thank you, everyone. Let's do a quick change. Naran, you can have a little break, and Matthew will get you back on. Next image, please. This image has a context statement. The next generation of designers are grounded in sustainable fashion principles. They're energetic, creative, and dynamic, especially this one, Darcy's World. And we have a 75, highly commended. Thanks, judges. I might come to Kat for a comment on this one, please.
Sure, thanks, Chris. Yeah, look, highly commended for sure. Well done to this photographer, and certainly keep pursuing this sort of work. Just really basic, tip is make sure you're focused on the eyes. So the focus is flipped to the water drops as opposed to the eyes. So yeah, definitely keep an eye on that. And also with an image like this, maybe pull back and give us a little bit more space and sense of place as well, a bit of context.
Excellent. Thanks, Kat. I'm going to keep people moving to the panel. Bruce, you can have a little bit of a break, and Naran will bring you back on. And let's have our next image, please. We have a 78, highly commended. Let's see. Nuren, love some feedback from you, please.
That's a very nice image, beautiful, like just like everything works quite well in some sense, but it's too many places to look at in this image, you know, like the shape of the hand that actually doesn't relate to rest of the image. Even the chain in on the t-shirt is like a bit destructive, and also the background is having like a bit of two different tonality in this background, doesn't work with the image, and I'm quite not sure that what the photographer want to sell in here, glasses, the ring, or the chain, or the jacket. You know, I like to see a bit more clarity in this image.
Okay, brilliant. Kay, did you have a comment you wanted to add?
Yeah, just again a lovely image, but I think just in terms of refining it a little bit more, there's a lot of little dust spots, whether it's hair and bits and pieces on the jacket and the jumper. Just clean those up too as part of that processing and refinement process.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks, Kay. Kay, I'm going to give you a little break, and we're going to bring Bruce back onto the panel. So we'll have our next image, please. This has a context statement. Part of a series I created for Norlan Glassware. I worked with the client, pushing the colors and concept specifically toward a high-tech feel. Matthew?
Give me.
Cool. All right. Fantastic, everyone. We have an 82 silver award with most of our judges in the silver range, which is a fantastic result. Peter Barnes, can I get a comment from you, please?
I think this is a beautiful bit of work. I really like how we can see the shape of the glass and see how the glass works as a glass. But at the same time, there's all this wonderful stuff happening in it and around it, with the bubbles and the lighting. The lighting's very well done. I love how the two different shades are used here. And as to improving it, I can't really see anything that I would latch on to. Well done.
Okay, I'll tell you what. How about we see if Matthew has any ideas for how to improve this image?
Firstly, a fabulous capture of glassware, which any of us commercial photographers who capture it and or have you tried to, it's very difficult photographing glassware. The improvements that I can see in it, and mind you, I am the highest, I'm sitting on 85 out of the judging panel at the moment, is just the underside of the glass. I appreciate to see the underside of glass because there is shape there to see. It's just a little bit bright. That is kind of keeping your eye at that point of the image as opposed to all of the rest of the elements that are going on in there. That's a fabulous capture. Yes.
Brilliant. Thanks, everyone, for your comments on that. That's really good. Peter, we're going to give you a little break, and let's bring Craig back on, and then we'll have our next image, please. This is a context statement. Promotional poster for High School Musical. And we have an 83 silver award, very solid silver award. So congratulations to the entrant. Could I get a comment Let's get a comment from Craig, please.
Yeah, I really enjoy the composition of this. I think it fits well to illustrate the characters of this production. Willy Wonka has got quite a lot of white haloing around. So I'd love to see that refined, especially in that black space. You can get away with it a little bit amongst all the smoke and stuff, but in that black area, I think tidying up would be really worthwhile doing.
Okay, Matthew, you still have your hand raised. Did you have anything you wanted to add?
Look, I just wanted to commend the photographer for this capture and for putting this together, really, to keep track of all of those elements that they've photographed in there, because they're all shot separately, to put into this image. They've done a really, really good job for what its intention is. So I just wanted to make sure that the person knows that they've really done well in putting this entire thing together. It's really well done.
Brilliant. Thanks, Matthew. All right, let's have a quick change. Niran, you can take a break. And Kay, we're going to bring you on. Next image, please. And we have a score of 78, highly commended. And judges, I might get, okay, brilliant. I think I got a comment from UK.
Yeah, a really striking image, a really nice composition in the way they've actually placed all the elements. I think just be careful of things like distortion on the edge of just straightening up vertical lines, and the quality of the image is let down a little bit. There's a lot of softness within it, and even the movement in the leaves and the trees, just let it down. I think if everything was beautifully sharp and crisp, it'd reach a much higher score.
Brilliant. Thanks, Kay. Kat, you can have a little break for a minute and we'll bring Nuran back on. Next image, please. We have a context statement for this one. Palestinian artist Asil Taya's first solo exhibition in Australia. All right, we have a 79 highly commended, but I suspect that's not going to last.
Oh, challenge.
Kay, Kay's on 87. Take it away, Kay.
I immediately understood what this image was all about, and to me that makes a statement in itself. I didn't actually need to necessarily hear the context statement to actually understand that. I think the way that the photographer has chosen to break up the frames has been really well done, and the use of the fabrics in the foreground of each of those two left and right frames is just adds another dimension and element to it. The images chosen to be portrayed in those two left and right images are also very striking. And I think it's just been very, very cleverly done, and I think it's well worth, to me, a silver distinction. I can see there's I might be having to encourage a few judges a little bit harder, but yeah, I think this is, I love the black and white treatment in the middle image, which contrasts with the color side elements. I think it's been really well done. I'd like to hear what the judges have to say.
Fantastic. Thanks, Kay. Craig, you're at the other end of the scale here.
Yeah, and I think maybe I have underscored this a little bit. I really like the two frames either side, and I quite enjoy that they're different aspect ratios as well. And I think that the use of that fabric K is really sympathetic to the overall result. I would love to see the lines kind of matching up. The top lines don't quite match, just a little bit of attention to detail there. But I'm just really struggling with this middle image, and I think the focus is for an image illustrating an artist's exhibition. We are just completely focused on the text in the center of the image and not the actual art or even the human aspect of people being there at the opening of the exhibition and enjoying the art. So I feel like it's a bit of a missed opportunity. I will come up into awards range. I don't know how far you've got to do a bit of convincing for me, I think there.
Thanks, Craig. Matthew, you had some feedback as well.
Yeah, look, I do appreciate the image and especially the way that it has been divided up. Giving us a single image that has three images in it is really lovely, especially at an exhibition like this where this is captured. They're always difficult things to document and to find something unique to come away with. I think it's just the decisive moment in that center frame. I know that we see that it says wise women and we can make up the rest of that word, but it's being just that little bit patient to stand there for however long it might have taken so we can read all of that part of it. And then the two top corners, the left and the right, that texture in there is it just feels a little bit distracting because that's where our artworks are, and there's a little bit of competition for the eye up in those top corners for the size of the artworks that we're looking at.
All right, thanks, Matthew. Kay, back to you for right of reply.
Yeah, I'll try and respond to those comments. I don't see too much of a difference in the level of the I presume it was the ceilings that you were talking about, Craig, in terms of having that line, that consistency of line across all of those elements. I see them as being fairly level, and as well as the grounding of them. The clarity of that ceiling is, I don't think we can expect too much else because we're trying to get that depth of field through from the foreground of those sheer curtainy drapes right through to the background where the actual images are held, and they're very, very strong. The blurriness in the middle image, I don't have a problem with the blurriness because it's about energy and it's about movement. It's about all the people that are attending this exhibition. The fact that the name is not, some of those words are slightly obscured. It's using the Gestalt theory that allows our brain to actually not be given everything, that allows us to actually imagine and not understand what it is without seeing it all. So to me, those are the elements, and that sort of, even that angle of the heavy angle of the black in that middle image coming down towards where the people are. It's like a drape being opened, so that the exhibition is being opened, that curtain is being opened for people, allowing people into the exhibition. So, and the focus is on the name because that is what we're wanting to see. The people are the blur, is the movement, is the energy that's being brought to that exhibition. So I would like to see a few more points. I'd like to see at least in the mid-silver range.
Excellent. Thank you, Kay. We'll lock your score in 87. If everyone else could please rescore. And we've moved up into silver range, 81, silver award. Excellent work, team. All right, let's keep things moving. Bruce, you can have a little break, and Peter Barnes, you can come back on. Next image, please. This has a context statement. Slightly practical, I'm working my cooking skills to push my food photography skills. Honestly, I'm absolutely appreciating food styling talent. And with pretty even scoring, we have an 82 silver award. Congratulations to the entrant. Matthew, do you have any feedback for this entrant?
Look, beautifully handled in the lighting. You know, the texture that we're looking at across that plate and the cutlery, even the placement of the cutlery. You know, we're seeing a really lovely line along them. Really, really well done. I think the only reason that we're sitting where we're sitting is because the food doesn't feel fully like the hero. It's probably just starting to refine your lighting and pay attention to how we can make the hero the food in this. So, but other than that, it's beautifully captured. Yes.
Thanks, Matthew. And I'll just say I'm quite hungry, and this looks really tasty. So your cooking skills, Kay is nodding as well. If you could have that delivered to the judges, we'd really appreciate it, please. Let's see. We might take Matthew. You can have a little bit of a break, and we'll bring Kat back on to the panel. And let's have our next image, please. Right, we have a score of 79, highly commended. And I'd love to get a comment from you, please, Craig.
I think this has real impact when it comes up on the screen. It's a really awesome concept, and I would love you to explore this a bit further. But I think just a lot of the technical piecing together of this just let it down with the kind of soft edges of the circular mat and the bleeding out of the structures towards the edges of those as well. Those lines are not clean and crisp on that bottom curve. And there are some kind of technical errors with some aberrations and things going on those lines as well. So explore this more because it's awesome, but just really focus on how you can nail those technicals to really make us go wow and give it the score it deserves.
Fantastic. Thanks, Craig. Uran, you can have a little bit of a break, and let's bring Matthew back on. Next image, please. Says a context statement. The intention was to create a romantic old world handmade Italian pasta making scenario created on spec for Czar's Italian deli and pasta. And we have an 83 silver award. So congratulations to the entrant for this. I'd love to get some feedback from one of our judges, please. Kat, we haven't heard from you for a little while. Can I get some feedback on this image, please?
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. This is a beautiful image, very well done. Yeah, certainly deserving. I was on 84 in the silver range, so yeah, I think it's been very nicely, neatly handled, beautifully, delicately lit. Nuran, go on mute, would you?
Sorry. Sorry.
And the beautiful the colors in here. So our primary colors, our red, green, red, blue, and yellow is lovely as well. So, and it's been the leaving all that negative space there for some branding and some information is great as well. So yeah, highly deserving of a silver award. Well done.
Excellent. Thanks, Kat. And again, feeling very hungry. So this is a really cruel category to have to look at when we're hungry. Let's see. Kay, you get to have a little bit of a break and we'll bring Bruce back on. Next image, please. As a context statement. This image is a commission for a leatherware designer who requested their pieces be showcased in a cyberpunk style shoot to promote their new release. And we have a 75, highly commended. Can I get a comment? I might go to Matthew for a comment, please.
Yeah, look, firstly, commending the photographer for not putting a gel over the subject's face. You know, there's so many times that we see gels being used and colors being used, and people turned into green, purple, blue aliens and things instead of their more natural skin tones. And I think the reason that we're sitting in the range that we are is maybe just for some sharpness issues across that face and that area, but then also looking at what the statement of it is about the leather goods. We're not really seeing the leather goods being the hero in this capture. They're just a little bit missing in it as opposed to the person.
Excellent. Thank you, Matthew. We might have our next image, please. This has a context statement. With the current state of the world, this deceased baby dove in a dying olive tree wreath represents my fading hope of enduring peace. And we have an 83 silver award. Excellent result. Congratulations to the entrant. I might go to Katrina for a comment, please.
Yeah, this is quite beautiful and certainly quite striking as well. What held it back for me, I had it at silver, bang on, in 80. For me, the text isn't relating to the story. Like I'm having a few questions with this piece, which I'm enjoying. I'm enjoying that sort of, what is this? What's the meaning? But for me, that would have been heightened even further without the text. I'm not sure. Yeah, for me, I think I'm missing the narrative, but this is certainly beautifully lit, beautifully treated, and it's asking me some questions which I enjoy as a judge. Confuse me, make me think.
Brilliant. Thanks, Kat. We've actually got a few people who wouldn't mind commenting on this. Matthew, I'll come to you.
Just on that point of lighting, the wreath around the outside is really delicately lit and very subtle, and I think it's just that central item, that dove that is a little bit overlit. It's almost giving us too much information instead of us questioning what is this, what we're looking at. So maybe some more subtle lighting on the central piece of the picture is going to create a little bit more questioning and raise the level of it again.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks, Matthew. Let's do a little judge change again. So, Craig, I'm going to let you take a break, and Nuran, you can come back onto the panel, and we'll have our next image, please. Says a context statement, humanizing the offshore industry, paying homage to the people who helped bring energy to Australia through black and white photography. Very consistent scoring from the team. We have a 77, highly commended. Matthew, could we get some feedback for the photographer, please?
Again, looking at this series, this is our first real face that we've forgot to look at. So it feels nice to see who the people are that we're talking about. So congratulations to the photographer for bringing us that face. I think probably the reason we're sitting there at the moment is that our subject doesn't really look like he wants to participate in the picture. He's kind of leaning back and away from us and is maybe a bit hesitant to be there. And I'm quite sure, having seen many people like this, that there's a great big laugh and that there's a smile and there's some higher level of connection in this picture that's maybe a moment either side of it, as opposed to the expression that we are getting from the subject.
Thanks, Matthew. Peter, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yes, just that I think the photographer should be commended for bringing us a face to look at, and secondly, controlling the reflections on those safety glasses so that we can see the side eye that the camera is getting. In terms of improving, I'd like to see a little bit more control of the highlights on the helmet and those maybe too light the patches that are a bit too light in the background, which are a little bit distracting. But well done as a portrait of a worker.
Excellent. Thanks, Peter. Matthew, we're going to give you a break and make some room for Kay to come back onto the panel. And then if we could have our next image, please. Context statement for this image. Coffee beans being roasted using traditional artisanal methods in a cast iron pan, showcasing the time-honored techniques in coffee production. And we have a 76, highly commended. Again, pretty even scoring across the board. Nuran, I would love some feedback from you for the photographer, please.
It's a nice image. Is like tells the story. That's why it's actually highly commended. But the thing is like I can't feel the action in here. You know, roasting it is maybe if the photographer go back to the scene and a bit less coffee beans, and you know, like we want to accentuate on the coffees, and also the coffees need to be on the focus. Only when very little fragment is actually on the focus, but the rest of them is actually all blurry, but doesn't give me the action and what I can't read the image in that sense. Otherwise, technique wise is done quite well apart from that depth of field. But yeah, congratulations to photographer.
Excellent. Thanks, Nuran. Kat, we're going to give you a little break for a minute. Actually, did you have a comment you wanted to add just before you dash off?
Please, just before I go, yeah, similar to Nuran, but if you're showing us the roasting, yeah, pull back and let us see some of the actual process, and also white balance wise, maybe warm this image up a bit so we get that sense of warmth and roasting and can sort of smell the beans. Help us out.
Excellent. Excellent feedback from the panel. Thanks, everyone. So, Kat, you could take a break. Craig, you're back on. Next image, please. Context statement. Client requested photos of students looking at books in the library. Pretty boring. This was my suggestion, which they loved. And we have a 75, highly commended. Craig, could we get some feedback for the photographer, please?
Yeah, congrats on the highly commended. I think a couple of things really. It's a bit bright and overlit, so if you can pull back that and give it a little bit more softness, that would really help. It's a little bit kind of tilted, and you want to make sure that those vertical lines are straight. I think that would also help. So yeah, a couple of things to think about. Also, I would just say, watch what you're saying in your contact statements, because if your client's watching this, saying it's pretty boring is not really something that a client or even a potential client watching is maybe going to want to hear.
Excellent feedback. Thanks, Craig. Bruce, did you have something you wanted to add? Oh, you're on mute. Excellent.
Sorry. I'll just say the one thing I would just be careful of is what's behind your subject's head. You've got a fan directly in the subject's head, and that is a little distracting.
Excellent. Thanks, Bruce. It's not a comment on your comment, Bruce, but you can have a little break and we'll bring Matthew back on and we'll go on to our next image, please. Context statement for this one. Self-promotion image I shot of an interesting gold ring, which I recently reworked with fresh eyes, a focus stack of 11 images. And we have a 78, highly commended. I would love some feedback from Nuran on this one, please.
Just like I like to give a feedback because of this is my specialty. I shoot this sort of rings all the time, and focus stacking hasn't been done properly unfortunately in some of the elements is skipping. And also, if the reason we do focus stacking is actually creating a bit of depth and giving product the whole view, and like the band in the bottom, like in all together, has to be sharp. And also, the when you are actually creating an image on the pattern like this, the background is actually needs to be controlled a bit better, and the texture in there and doesn't complement like texture on the ring as well. Clarity will be better, it be sharper and better technique. But again, it's like nicely lit, beautifully done. But the few elements it doesn't take it to silver level.
Brilliant. Thanks, Nuran. And I knew, given this is your specialty area, you'd have some amazing advice for our entrant. Really appreciate that. Peter, you can have a little break. Kat, let's get you back on the panel and we'll go on to our next image, please. Context statement. Humanizing the offshore industry, paying homage to the people who help bring energy to Australia through black and white photography. We have a 76, highly commended. Kay, do you have any feedback for the photographer?
Yeah, quite a striking image in terms of the composition, but I feel that the context statement is not really, or the image is not really providing me the energy that I'm hearing within the context statement. It would have been great to maybe have some people moving through the foreground just to bring more energy and dynamic to what the actual narrative is all about.
So thanks, Kay. Craig, you had some feedback as well.
Yeah, just really quickly on some technicals. You've got to watch for banding in the sky and make sure that you're cleaning up your sensor spots. But I love the depth of field in this and the sharpness throughout. It's quite nice.
Excellent. Some nods from the panel on that, so that's great. Nuran, you can have a little break. Bruce, let's get you back in and we'll have our next image, please. There's no context statement for this image. All right, we have a 79, highly commended. Matthew, would love some feedback from you, please.
Again, really well captured and nicely laid out. It's very well structured image. I think the improvement that can come from this is, again, the lighting of our subject and our main subject. We're looking for emotion and we're going for emotion to tug on heartstrings and get people questioning the world. And our central figure is probably a little bit overlit. It just feels a little bit too present rather than us questioning again what this is, as opposed to kind of just smacking you between the eyes and saying, this is what it is.
Excellent. Thank you, Matthew. Craig, you can have a short break. And Peter, you can come back on. We'll have our next image, please. Context statement: a graveyard in the Perth Hills. We have a 78, highly commended, again with very even scoring around the panel. Kay, can we come to you for a comment, please?
Yeah, a really striking image here. And I'd encourage the photographer to go back and have another play with this. Shutter speed is probably really key for an image like this, where you want to see the sharpness and the clarity within the whole image. There's what I'm assuming is slightly slower shutter speed. So there's a lot of movement in the trees, which is a little bit distracting, and the image is breaking up a little bit. So I would definitely encourage the photographer to go and have another look at this.
Hey, brilliant. Thanks, Kay. Matthew, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Time of day in particular. Again, much like the previous image, we're really centrally overlit, and I love the central part of it and that little hammerhead at the top that's kind of almost putting a full stop on where we are and what we're looking at. That's a quirky little part of the image, but I think it's just that time of day that it's captured at. There's almost all of the information presented to us, and again, instead of giving us some questions to ask and some things to ask of this image and for it to respond to us with, particularly that it's an aerial, likely captured from a drone. There's things that you can go back to this place and explore, look at different times. You'll get many different results, I think, from it.
Excellent. Thanks, Matthew. That's really good advice. You can step off for a little bit, Matthew, and we'll bring Nuran back on. And we'll have our next image, please. Context statement for this one: embracing the upcycle, recycle fashion shift, fully outfitted in vintage at AFC Australian Fashion Week 2025. And we have a 77, highly commended. So I'd love to get some feedback from Katrina for this one, please.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, have a look at just distracting elements in your images at the time. Obviously, if you can change your angle to perhaps eliminate the bystanders in the background, that would be really helpful to eliminate them right out. And then look, even in just post something like this, that the section of elements on the very far left-hand frame, the little window boxes, whatever they are there, they're quite distracting as well. So you could take us in even closer. But certainly, yeah, keep going, highly commended. And yeah, you've got an eye for this work, so keep presenting it to us, please.
Excellent. Thanks, Kat. Kay, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, just very quickly, the framing of the subject's been done really quite nicely. Just watch again the focus point. The eyes are not sharp. Other elements are, so maybe just adjusting focal length.
Brilliant. Thank you, Kay. And that was our last image of the commercial category for the 2025 Australian Photographic Prize. I want to say thank you to all of our judges for working so hard and giving such excellent feedback and evaluation of these images. And congratulations to all the entrants. Entering your work into a competition like this is so good for your personal development. Whether your results are through the roof or not, it's an excellent growth opportunity, and it will absolutely contribute to your evolution as a photographer. So I hope that you've all gotten some value out of this, and looking forward to our next category. So over to you, Daniel.
Thanks heaps, Chris. Yeah, great job. Great job, everyone. That brings us to a close for the online judging for the commercial category for the 2025 Australian Photographic Prize. Thank you to our wonderful panel of judges. What a great panel. Your feedback was really amazing, and I think it's going to help, and it'll be very much appreciated by our entrants. And thank you to our entrants. You submitted some amazing images, and it was a delight to see them judged today. If your image didn't make the top 30, as Chris said, there's plenty of good advice here today. You can rewatch the judging and use that advice to make your image even stronger for next year. Huge thanks to our behind the scenes crew, Nathan and Helen, for keeping things running smoothly. All the hiccups today were my fault, not theirs. Thank you, Nathan and Helen. You handled things amazingly. And thanks again to our valued sponsors, Nikon, AZO, KL, Godox, Ilford, Photography Studies College, and the Print Shop. Their support of this competition and for the next generation of photographers is greatly appreciated. And thank you to you, our online audience, for tuning in and celebrating excellence in photography with us. Winners for this category will be announced with all the others during our live presentation awards next Sunday, the 20th of July from 5 p.m. And that's all for this session. We'll be back at 7 o'clock for the architecture category. Thank you for joining us, and see you soon.
Wow, photographing the way I do, but with my colors, this will change everything.
I got to see each frame, each position of its wing, and they're so beautiful that I have never seen before.
Being able to move quickly and working at my brain's pace and getting those shots in the moment. Having this camera allows you to go out and create the way you want to create.
Until you use it, you cannot even imagine what you have missed.
It's something I've never seen before in my entire life. It's something totally different.
Nikon Z6 III. Outperform.
Introducing ISO Color Edge. Precision is essential for any professional working with images. Whether you're an artist, a retoucher, or a visual effects specialist, you need to know that what you see at the start of a project is precisely what you'll get at the end. Color Edge monitors give consistent, reliable accuracy that guarantee no surprises within your color workflow. So what you see in real life is what you see on screen, and what you see on screen is what you see in real life. That's precisely why professionals all over the world trust ISO Color Edge for their image creation. ISO Color Edge. Discover living, breathing color.